Yeah. 1, 2. I think now we are live.
Great. Welcome, YouTube, to our discussion this evening. My name is Dr. Soita. I am the Vice Chair of Skeptics and Atheist Society of Kenya. Forgive us for missing in action. I know you have not seen our content for close to a month. We were doing some internal organization, but we are back. Today, we are discussing ethical exceptions. Ethical exceptions. When is it okay to kill, to steal, and to lie? When is it okay? That is the topic of discussion. What informed this topic? I think it is society. I think it is our experiences, because we as atheists often get this question: where do you get your morals now that you have left God? That's a very common question. And then another one is, why don't you steal? Why don't you lie? Why don't you kill? Some even add other things like rape, now that you are an atheist. So today we are going to use logic and reasoning to explain why we don't, because I trust that we are not killers and we're not thieves. The one of lying, I don't know. I think all of us, all humans are liars, but it's the extent that differs. So we will establish why we don't do those things. Or if you do, I'm making assumptions. Hey, there might be some people who lie or who do those other things. And let's hear when it is okay to do so, right? Because ethics is a complicated phenomenon. It's not something carved in stone. You can't just say one statement and say that it applies all the time. It is contextual. These matters are contextual. And so we are going to look at those contexts in which such quote unquote vices are permissible. Now, how we will structure the discussion is based on those three issues: lying, stealing, and killing. We'll go in that order because I feel like it's the magnitude of severity, that word. It has refused to come out of my mouth. I trust you know what I mean. The seriousness of the issue or the act is what is going to determine the order in which we tackle it. So the less serious one, lying, is what we'll start with, then we'll go to stealing, and then we'll go to killing. And for each subtopic, we will consider first why it is important to avoid lying, why it is important to avoid killing, why it is important to avoid stealing. And then now look at the ethical exceptions. So that's the approach we are taking. And without further ado, because we have really taken a lot of time to launch the live stream, let's just get into it. Please tell me, why do you think it is important for society not to lie, generally speaking? Why should we avoid lying, generally speaking, before we go to the ethical exceptions, to the context in which you think a lie should be accepted? Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand to participate in the discussion. Why does society need you to avoid lying? Why does society require you to tell the truth? Okay. What is the benefit of that? What is the importance of that? What is the usefulness of not lying? Yes, Chilwave, go ahead.
Well, I think society wouldn't really be able to function if everything we were told was a lie. So, for example, if you were to buy a product and the person lied to you about what the product can do and what its features are, then we'd live in a society where you wouldn't be able to trust whoever you're purchasing products from. That might not matter very much when you're buying something like a toaster, but when it's something like medicine, and they tell you, oh, this medicine doesn't have any side effects, or this medicine is going to cure you and it doesn't, then obviously it would have detrimental effects on society. And even when it comes to things like elections, if people were to lie and say that they won the election when they didn't win an election, then obviously that would lead to political unrest and it would lead to bad actors gaining power within a political system. So I think the foundation of our society requires a good level of truth to be told in order to function.
Aha. Thank you, Chilwave. He has given us some really good examples of how society would fall apart if we were lying all the time, including the one on politics and medicine. You know, it's a life and death situation right there. Next is Endeavor.
Thanks, Dorcas. I would like to add, uh, beside the trust that we build because of the expectation that somebody is telling us the truth, particularly on some very important things. Let us say in the scientific field, if we couldn't tell whether those were stars or planets, then some of the fields could actually collapse because they depend on us knowing the truth and somebody else building on that data that was produced maybe from our research. So therefore, that is the trust. Trust is a foundation of the things that we do. You don't have to, if you are told that Tylenol cures your headache, you don't have to go and do the research for yourself. You know that somebody did a research, and of course, there is always, you have to leave room for some things, but the foundation of trust has been made if people are not lying. Also, for you to cooperate with somebody, let us say Dorcas or Dorcas and Chilwave decide to do a cooperation and build an enterprise, then if there is truth, there is no lying between the two of them, there's going to be stability in their the way they cooperate in their enterprise is going to help that they are telling each other the truth. They're the same with even in relationships. Also, in society expecting us to tell the truth, we also protect the people who are vulnerable, the vulnerable people who can probably, like a child, cannot go and do a research whether the parent is telling the truth or the teacher is telling the truth. So those people who cannot do that research for themselves or who cannot protect themselves in some ways are relying on our telling the truth. And the other one I can also say is probably that you can operate faster if you if it is predictable, if I'm predictable with my ability to tell the truth, things will go faster. There will be more order because you can trust in my if I'm predictable, that sometimes I tell the truth, sometimes I don't tell the truth, I become unpredictable. You can't go too far. You cannot go too far with that kind of situation. So yes, so I think that those are some of the reasons that we should that truth is helpful to the society. Thank you.
Very well said. Yes, you have added the aspect of efficiency and planning. I think it's vital for us to be able to trust what somebody tells us. If they tell you that class is going to start at 8 a.m. and they're lying, you will show up at 8 a.m. You'll use up resources in order to show up for a meeting at 8 a.m. and they come at 10 a.m. or they don't show up at all. Yeah. So it's going to mess you up. You won't acquire the knowledge that you are acquiring, and maybe that knowledge was supposed to help you get a job and earn a living. You see, it has this entire ripple effect that stems from the lack of trust and inefficiency, inability to plan. So you put it succinctly. Thank you, David. Now that we have spoken about the need to tell the truth, why lying is a problem, let's go to the exceptions. What, in your view, are the contexts in which lying is permissible? And of course, tell us why. Because all our discussions as skeptics, we are called Skeptics and Atheist Society of Kenya. Skeptics are people who reject a claim that lacks evidence. So we go where the evidence leads, and our morality, our ethics is founded on reasoning and logic. It's founded on critical thinking. It's not a command from a sky daddy, from a God somewhere. No, it is based on logic and reasoning. Does this make sense? If I look at it logically, then we go down that route. So, using logic, which are the contexts in which lying is permissible? Yes, Chilwell, go ahead.
So there are a few contexts that I can think of. I'll try to give as many of them as I can. I think the first one is it can be permissible to lie to children. So, for example, let's say your children ask you which one of them is their favorite. I think you can lie to them because they might feel disheartened once they learn the truth that it's not them. So I think that's a lie that's acceptable for society. I think another lie is like, sometimes when someone is begging you for money, like on the street, and you just say something like Leo Sina, or, like I don't have any money or something like that. Meanwhile, you could actually have a lot of money. Or even when your friends try to borrow money from you, sometimes you say money is tight. Like you might actually have money, but you don't want to, like, it would be a bit rude to say, I have the money in my account, but I don't want to give it to you. I just don't feel like it. Like, I don't know, maybe we should, but I think that's a like socially acceptable lie. And yeah, just other times when you're talking to children, like when you tell them they need to see the doctor and they ask, will I have to get an injection? And you just say, no, there's going to be no injection. Because, if you tell them there's going to be an injection, they're not going to get into the car. And also, if someone is trying to scam you, like they ask you, what are your bank details? I mean, you don't just tell them your bank details. Or if strangers ask you, like, where do you live? You don't have to tell them where you live, right? So I think lying can be used either to keep ourselves safe or other people safe, or to prevent people's egos from being hurt, or when dealing with children. I think those are the scenarios where lying might be appropriate. So, yeah, especially like to protect someone else. I think that's where people might disagree with Immanuel Kant because, for example, if if like Nazis were coming to get Jews in your house and they came and knocked on your door and they said, "Are there any Jews here?" and you just say yes, then they're going to get killed. Or in a more modern day example, if someone was upset at your friend, like for one reason or another, and wanted to beat them up, and the friend came and asked you to hide them, and that other person came to your house and is like, has this person passed by here? I think it's acceptable to lie and say, no, they're not here. Like if the person who wants to beat up your friend has no justifiable cause. So, yeah, protecting yourself, protecting others, and I guess protecting people's egos who can't handle the truth.
Aha! Wow, those are quite detailed and extensive, as well as diverse examples. Thank you so much, Chilwe. He's brought out the aspect of white lies. You know, there are some lies that are um, they are supposed to have a positive effect in that you don't want to hurt the other person. And he's talking about ego, not hurting people's ego. Do we agree with him on this one of prioritizing ego versus truth? When your wife comes to you and asks you, how were my meat and potatoes? Maybe she tried that dish. You don't like it. Aki, you don't. You don't like it. But because you want to protect her ego, you say, ah, it was great, honey. Yeah. Do you think that's a sustainable approach? You should lie in those contexts. Do you agree with that? And do you agree with any of, or do you disagree with any of the scenarios that Chiluev has mentioned? Let's hear from the rest of you. Yes, Deve, go ahead.
The scenarios that Chilwell put out there, so-called white or black lies, if you wish to put color to lies, is the same as somebody, my friend, tells me you look nice, or I say, oh, I bought this new dress. What do you think about it? As you look at it and probably think how much I spend on it, and instead of telling me it's awful, you just say, oh, you look nice. So now, these, of course, they protect us, but once you know a person, you can know how, you might say it is good, but later on, you can say, you can put, later on, you can put it whichever way, when the effect, when your friend has already felt good about it, then you can later on bring in something. But if this is a stranger on the road and you are not going to meet them again to mitigate or to bring in a little bit of truth, then yeah, that is it. That is gone. You'll never be able to mitigate that situation. but you have protected that person's immediate feelings, but they will never know the truth, so that next time they can do better. But it is something, I think it is something that we do so often, to protect each other or to protect ourselves, that we keep ourselves from doing better. That is just, yeah, that, to me, that is how I look at it. And even in some books, when you read some novels, you will come across all these situations that the people are faced in these situations, and you have to take, it's not like you have tomorrow to think about the situation. You actually are going to have to make a decision right there and then. And you're going to call upon the lying that you've been done in the past to do a lie that time. So it is, and it is not as if somebody is going to die from the lie that you are telling. No, there is no death, or there is no loss of material or life on that person. It's a little bit of your morals that is gone, but you will go away knowing that, hey, geez, that was not true. So you are going to be thinking about it, that it was not completely true. But you are going away knowing that that person is not hurt. That is, yeah, it's messy. Thank you.
Aha. So Ndeve has brought out that angle of you telling the white lie. Okay, I've colored the lie. Telling the pro-social, it's also called a pro-social lie, that the long-term effect of that is it keeps this person from doing better, from improving, from changing, because you told them the lie. Thank you, Deve. I see Chiluev raised his hand again. We'll come back to you, Chiluev, shortly. Let's hear from Sano, who hasn't spoken.
So for me, I concur with the Chirwe. All what you have said is correct, but I can also add, sometimes you can lie, maybe because of your brother. Police want to arrest him, and you just hide him. Then you lie, even if it's a criminal. So I don't know whether we can call that a white lie or a black lie. So, but that is another scenario that we normally find ourselves doing, defending the criminal or defending the guilty people, because are very close to us, maybe our best friend or our relative. So that I can add in conjunction with what Chilwe have said. About the protecting ego, even me, I normally find myself just giving the positive feedback so that the person cannot feel disappointed. If you ask whether you are smart, I will normally say you are smart, even if my perspective, you are not smart. When somebody is not smart, so I will end up saying you look wow, just for the sake. Yeah. And especially like the wife, we who are married, wife only need positive feedback. So if you try to question or to put a question mark, that will be a problem. So you only need to be positive and giving only the positive feedback that will please her. That is according to most of us who are married. I don't know whether there is other who don't care or their wife may understand, but for me and the friends that I have shared, I find they only need to be right for them to be happy. Thank you.
Hey, Moto sana. Okay. Thank you, Stano. I'll comment when I'm giving my position on ethical exceptions. Let's hear from Chilwave.
So first commenting on what ex-pastor Stano said, I think in terms of defending a brother or a friend from the police, that entirely depends on what crime is committed. As long as it's a victimless crime, then it's fine. So, for example, let's say I had a younger brother who was caught, like, I don't know, underage drinking, then fine, I can protect him from that. But if he literally murdered someone or stole something, then yeah, he's gonna go to jail because I'm not gonna be an accessory to a non-victimless crime. But that's just my stance. Um, what I wanted to add on earlier about the ego is I was very specific when I said protecting their ego in the sense that when it comes to answering your question of the meat and potatoes, it entirely depends on their ego. What do I mean by that? Is she the type of person to take positive feedback well or not well? If she takes it well, then that means her ego won't be damaged. But if she can't take the feedback well, that shows her ego will be damaged. What I'm trying to say is that there's some people who, no matter what feedback you give them, if it's negative, they'll always take it badly. But some people can't handle positive feedback. Even the example of the dress, you have to consider if this person, if you tell them the dress does not look good, how will they take it? Will they actually consider buying a new dress? Or will they just think, this person is such a horrible person. How can he insult me like that? So I think it's highly contextual, and it's something you should gauge the other person's ego to see what they can handle and what they can't handle. Another example is like if your child asks you, is my drawing good? If they're 5 years old, I doubt you will tell them it's horrible. But maybe if they're like 14, you can give them feedback and say, oh yeah, it's good, but maybe try and improve how you draw the hands and the background. So yeah, ego is completely context dependent when you're trying to assess it. And another tip that I had is you shouldn't try to correct someone on something they can't change in 5 minutes. Because if you tell someone something like you think they're overweight or you don't like their hairstyle or their car is it's a piece of crap or something like that, then it can be very demeaning and demotivating. And I think also when it comes to jobs, like jobs where you're a customer facing role. I think, they say the customer is always right. So there might be those inner thoughts and opinions you might have about the customer that you shouldn't just tell them. I mean, if people were really honest about how they felt about the customer, then most businesses would have a whole lot fewer customers. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you, Chilwave. Now, let me give my take on ethical exceptions for lying. I believe that most of the ones Chilwave said, I agree with, especially that one of saving lives. I think that is the threshold, the standard that we need to use when committing this vice. If you are an atheist in a predominantly Muslim country and it is illegal to be atheist in that country, there are many Muslim countries where that is the case, then once police or authorities come and ask you as an atheist, are you still a Muslim? Do you believe in Allah? You lie in order to save a life. I think it's a greater good to save. alive vis-a-vis to tell the truth in that context, definitely. And when he talked about Immanuel Kant,
I think your volume is a bit low.
Oh dear. Mic check 1, 2. Can you hear me? Is this better?
Yeah, it's a bit better. I don't know if the others noticed it or anything.
Okay. I don't have my earphones with me. I am going to look for them. So I was saying, when Chilwell quoted Immanuel Kant, who said that you should never lie, regardless of the consequences, even if somebody is going to die as a result of the truth, you should always tell the truth. That's where I separate from him, because I consider myself to be a Kantian ethicist, but a partial one. Like when it comes to such a context where it's a life and death situation, then definitely it makes logical sense to lie to save a life. I also think that minimizing the suffering of emotionally fragile people is permissible, is okay. If somebody is in a near-death situation, they're about to die, I think lying to them that maybe there's an afterlife, they believe that they'll go to heaven. So at that point, that is not the point to start telling them about atheism and to tell them that there's no such thing as heaven or hell. No, because it's a near-death situation. So we need to protect them in that case, or somebody who is senile, who is quite old, and they are cognitively impaired. They are cognitively impaired. At that point, maybe what they require is encouragement, or maybe they just don't have the mental capacity, even maybe mentally they are compromised. It might not even be an age thing. It might just be that mentally they are compromised. Then I think in such situations, a lie to minimize suffering is okay. I also think that okay, now here I differ with the rest of you on the ethical exception for lying. When you're talking about lying to your wife, Stano is saying, and many men believe what Stano mentioned, that the wife is always right. If your wife asks you how she looks in that dress, it should always be she looks wonderful. She looks like a model, like Miss Kenya. That should always be the answer for the sake of peace. I think that is such a low road to take. I think that living in such an environment allows these uncomfortable situations to fester. She will always be wearing that dress, even if she looks like a clown, simply because you are scared of bruising her ego. Ego is a fickle thing. We shouldn't base our relationships on ego. Truth is a greater goal than ego. If the problem is how this person reacts, then we need to work on how we give the feedback rather than what we see. So instead of picking a lie, tell the truth, but how you package it is the difference. That will determine how this person perceives it. As a communication trainer, in fact, we just finished training a certain group, and if I was able, we were training them on giving feedback. And one of the things we say is try and use the sandwich method, which involves starting with something positive, then mentioning the negative feedback, and then finishing with another positive thing. That way, at least the first and last thing they remember is positive. Another way is not to generalize and to start bringing up things from the past. You always do this. You always cook funny meals, tasteless meals. You don't start bringing things. They're just asking about that particular scenario, that particular dish. Only focus on that. Don't start bringing other things. Don't start commenting about their personality. And if possible, mention the steps they could take to improve. But how you package your feedback is the difference between how it is perceived and how it is, whether it is accepted or whether it is rejected. Because I would hate to be in such a situation where I'm always walking on eggshells. Like there are so many negative things you've observed, but you don't say anything. You just keep it to yourself, and you work around the lie, because that's the problem with lies. You first of all have to remember them, or you have to put up with the negative conditions that come from the lie. So I have to tolerate this bland meal every single day simply because I don't have the courage to give my spouse negative feedback, or I have not learned how to package feedback. I think for me, no, it's a no. I am not going to massage somebody's ego. I will tell the truth, but I will endeavor to do it constructively. That to me is the bottom line. So let me leave it there on my point of view. But as we said, everybody has their perspective. Nothing, we don't have some script somewhere to tell you, you must do this, you must do this. You just mention your position, your ethical exception, and then give the reasoning behind it. If it's logical, we might rally behind it. If not, then yeah, you move in the other direction. And then this other one, finally, I know I had said finally, but finally, this other example that ex-Pastor Stano gave of him protecting his brother who is a criminal, I wouldn't. Guy, no, I don't want to be aiding and abetting illegal activities. Hey, he will not throw me under the bus. I am sorry. I will not lie. I will not. Yeah. Because the ripple effect, this is the problem with lies, is that the ripple effect is detrimental. Eventually, I will become an accomplice. And then if they find out that I lied now, they will open a case against me. So not only will they catch my brother eventually, then they will also catch me. Now you see, those are two people when it could just have been one. He should have thought twice before stealing or before killing somebody, instead of coming to me to lie.
On that, in Dorcas, you can also add about the lawyer. Lawyer knew very well you are the killer, but he ended up trying to defend you by saying you never killed.
Yes, lawyers. If there was a hell, if there was a heaven, I don't think lawyers would go. Thank you. I see Endeavor's hand is up and Chillwaves. I don't know whose was raised first.
Chillwave.
Okay, Sawa. Chillwave, go ahead.
Okay, I was just a bit curious about what you're saying about the whole never lying in a relationship, because the question is, how honest are you going to be in the sense that, okay, let's say you love someone, right? And you know that they care about their physical prowess in bed. and let's say one time you get intimate with them and then they ask you, how was it? And you tell them it was good, or rather, let's say someone says, and then, but what's going through their mind is this. They say it's good, but out of all the people I've had, you're probably like number 10 when it comes to physical intimacy, or number 32. So are you saying you'd really tell your husband that they're number 32 when it comes to physical intimacy? You'd be that honest with them, or would you just say it was good and leave it there?
No, I would be honest. Actually, kwanza that situation, do you know, if you lie about somebody's performance, especially if they suck, if they're terrible in bed, if you lie, you will be subject to a negative sexual experience over and over again. It is so liberating to tell the truth. But I wouldn't tell them you are good or you are bad. You suck or you okay. If he's good, of course I'll say he's fantastic, he's magnificent. But if he is terrible, I wouldn't say you are terrible. Oh no, I would just pinpoint. I would use that sandwich method. I liked kissing you. I liked this, but there's this thing you did. I wish you did this instead. Or, I would focus on the details rather than giving him a score. Yeah. But I would still get my message across. Yeah.
But like let's say okay, so let's agree the sex is good, but in terms of improvement, the issue is that, let's say it's not something in his control. Like, let's say it's his penis size. So for example, his penis is average, but you've been with men who have like 7 inch or like 9 inch who are better. So would you tell him that, the sex was good, but I used to have sex with this 7 inch, 9 inch guy and it was way better? Like, would you tell him that and it's something he can't do anything about?
You see, now you're introducing comparisons. There's no need to compare. As long as I was satisfied, I think I don't need to bring in other people. I would just focus on the particular aspect. If I feel like maybe there's something I find to be very important, um, guy, we are getting into the weeds here, people. I don't even want to give that example, but maybe there's a particular way I like to be touched, and he didn't do it. It was just missing. I would mention the things that he did right, but I would also add that aspect. I was like, could we try next time? Could we try this? Yeah. But I wouldn't let it slide, man. You have to be assertive about your your satisfaction. But anyway, okay, chill with. Watch out. Let's leave it there. We have gone into the weeds. Let's hear from Deve on this aspect of lying.
Well, Dorcas, have you ever destroyed a man with the truth? I would not even go there. Yeah, because that is, yeah. And I'm asking myself, if we lie, quote unquote, lie to strangers so arbitrarily, so easily, why are you destroying this man? I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to leave it at that. Because, or your wife, we lie arbitrarily to strangers, to people we'll never meet again, to protect them, or for whatever reason. Why are you not going to protect your wife or your spouse or your wife or your husband with their performance? And no, particularly men. I think even women, we are sensitive with our men are even more sensitive with with that kind of performance. But anyway, I will just say that if I'm going to lie to an arbitrary person on the road, then I'm going to lie. I'll probably lie to my spouse, but when it comes to what matters, I will try to help myself more and get, help myself more and probably end up getting what I want, because I'll go there with a selfish, maybe with a selfish idea of helping myself. But anyway, on the side of lying to protect my criminal brother or sister, I think we have to draw a line there, because somebody could be hurt by protecting my criminal brother. It is not as simple as telling the wife or the husband that they look good in their loafers or in their pants. It is not harmless. Therefore, it is actually criminal. Definitely, that is not even a lie that we should entertain, whether it is our brother or our sister, because it could cause harm to somebody else down the road. It's not harmless. Maybe this person has done harm. They need to face the law, and if we protect them down the road, they might do something again to if they've not learned their lesson, to cause harm to somebody else. So it cannot be. That is not the same kind of lie as telling somebody that they look good in their dress. Thank you.
All right. Yes. And in fact, I looked at the AI response to limitations to lying, and they were saying you need to balance between trivial and significant lies, because I'm coming off like I'm on a moral high horse, but I lie. Of course, I also lie. Here we are talking about the ideal situation, okay, the kind of society I would want to see, rather than the society that is. But AI says trivial versus significant. If somebody lies to you about them having a job, about whether they pay child support or not, whether they were married and divorced and they have a child from that relationship or not, those are significant things compared to the trivial one of whether you look good in a dress or not. So again, balancing between trivial and significant, because it might not be realistic to completely avoid lies. There's that aspect. Then it also said the context and societal norms, because in the past it was okay to lie to terminally ill patients that they will die soon, but these days you are required to inform your patients about the situations they're facing. Then you should also lie only when there are no other alternatives. For instance, you could choose to refuse to answer the question, or you could evade, or you could not speak. Those ones might be considered first before you tell the lie. And of course, balancing harms, the moral arguments for the lie should outweigh the moral lies against it. Now let's proceed to stealing. Let's proceed to stealing. Why do you think we need to live in a society where stealing is not rampant? Why should we avoid stealing in a society before we come to the exceptions for stealing, the situations where you think it is okay to steal? Yes, now I know Chilwave's hand was raised before Bill, but because we've not heard from Bill, let's hear from him first, then we'll come to you, Chilwave.
Okay.
Your voice is
Hello. Unanisikia? Yeah, so
Yes.
I think that if it will eliminate stealing from society, that will be smoothened out. So, like I was thinking, let us assume in our town, our village, we knew that no one is a thief. So right now there are some laws that exist because but that have there are some excesses that work in car because people still like having CCTVs, having guards and everything. That would mean like you can just open a shop and just leave everything there and just put the price tags on everything. Just go do other things and people just come and buy and pay because no one is going to steal. So you see, a lot of the cost will have disappeared. So the cost of doing businesses, the cost of like right now, before I start doing before I share a business idea with someone, I have to go and sign all of these papers and go through lawyers and everything. To make sure my idea is not stolen. But if we could trust each other enough, and if everyone knew that no one is going to steal the idea or anything, then we wouldn't have to. The cost of doing this business will be reduced by a very big amount. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I have struggled to hear you, Bill. There's a lot of background noise or static. I don't know what it is that was competing with your actual voice. Ay, ay, ay. But I could make out something about, I don't even know. Maybe somebody else heard him more clearly. Perhaps you could try and fix your audio and paraphrase what you said later, or you could type, but I've really struggled to hear you, Bill. Oh, it's the fan that is making the noise. Okay, no wonder. Chillwave, go ahead.
I just had one other question. So let's say you're going to a club and you have like a younger sister, so you're 18 and she's 16, and the bouncer asks both of you whether you're 18, you'd snitch on your sister.
Chillwave, Chillwave, why are you trying to pin me down? Can we, can we focus on the general rules, not Dorcas? Not
The reason
Dorcas's.
I'm trying to pin you down is because you are saying for expert Stano's example, you never protect. He said he'd protect his brother from crime. You said you wouldn't, and my response was, it's nuanced. As long as it's a victimless crime, then to me it's all right.
No, of course I would not snitch on my sister. Of course I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. But I would try and avoid that situation. I'll try and avoid it. Like I would tell her, you are 16, excuse me, stay home. Check me 2 years later. Yeah, just to avoid that situation of breaking the law and having all of those consequences. Because my issue is the ripple effect. It's not just at the principle, it's the ripple effect, the consequences of telling this lie. Yeah, we could get arrested, all these things. So let's just avoid it to begin with. Okay, you don't have anything to say, Chilwave, on why it is important for a society not to steal?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to stealing, we have to respect property rights because everyone wants their property to be safe and to be respected. Otherwise, our possessions, they'll get stolen and we would be at a loss. So, yeah, I think that's the importance.
Property rights. Property rights are an important motivator for not stealing in society. Now, let's look at the exceptions. as you think of situations where it is okay to steal, I can add a few other reasons why society decides that stealing is bad, why it's wrong. So besides the property rights, I believe that the issue of trust again comes here. Deve had mentioned it with lying. The same is true for stealing, that if I can't trust that when I leave my bag in my office, in my office desk, maybe let's say it's an open plan desk, if I can't trust that I will find it again with all its contents intact, then I'll not be able to work comfortably in that environment. I see that even with businesses, the mama mbogas in my estate, you see that sometimes you go to the shop and the mama mboga is not there. She's absent. You're like, who is selling here? I want to buy something. Or even a shop. Sometimes it can even be a shop that sells slightly costly things like laptops or other electronics, and the shop owner is not there. Maybe they've gone to the restroom, but nobody will steal from them because there's some sort of social contract among us, an implicit one where we have agreed that we'll not steal from each other. And that helps to build trust. He trusts that society. And why is trust important? Because it fosters cooperation. We are a species that has mastered the art of cooperation. If you read the book by Yuval Noah Harari, I think, Sapiens, it says we are dominating this planet as human beings because of our ability to cooperate. It is not our superior strength. It is not our agility or our speed, our extra strong senses. No, it is our ability to cooperate. That is what fosters survival of the human species. If we can't cooperate, then we will quickly be decimated by the physically stronger species. So, not stealing fosters trust, it builds cooperation, and it enhances our survival as humans. Furthermore, if we don't have people who steal a lot, you find that your society is efficient. You can be able to plan ahead that I am going to go to work by the end of the month. I'm going to make 50,000 shillings, and I'll have that 50,000 shillings. I'll be able to use it to pay rent, to pay my utilities, to come for the SAS-K hangout next Sunday. I'll be able to do all these things. You can plan ahead. I'll pay school fees. But if you live in a society where stealing is rampant, you wouldn't be able to plan for your future. You earn that 50,000 shillings, and on your way home, it is stolen. Yeah. And all those plans fall apart. So it fosters efficiency. And also, a society that has a lot of theft is poor. It impoverishes the victims, and it impoverishes where today I don't know, I drank soapy water. The society in which stealing is rampant, where crime, you see, where there are high crime rates, there are also high poverty rates, because you get something, you work hard for something, and then it is taken away from you. You're left with nothing. You're left with little, yeah, minimum assets. So those are some of the other reasons why I would mention the value of not stealing, harmony. It undermines value and dignity of work, order, and perseverance. So people will lose motivation to work and a living if there's all this stealing. Now let's look at the exceptions. In your view, when do you think it's okay to steal? Or do you think there's no context in which stealing is fine? And why? Great. Chilwave, let's hear from you.
Yes, I think stealing in real life it's very rarely permissible, but I can think of a few examples. So one would be like in a medical emergency. So uh, let's say, for example, you're at a friend's place and your friend has like peanut allergies or has diabetes and they need an EpiPen or an insulin injection. So you steal one from like someone's roommate or someone's friend who you don't know. Like you take the pen without their permission in order to save their life. And then later on you tell them about it and you pay for the damages, like for taking the pen. So I think that would be morally permissible in such a medical emergency, like you're stealing some medicine to help save someone, or like you steal a first aid kit to help someone that's not yours, right? I think another scenario which not many people think of would be if you're a whistleblower, you might need to steal documents as evidence in order to whistleblow on the company or the institution that you're reporting on. And the third final scenario I can think of is what was it? Mm, mm, I'm trying to think of it.
As you recall, it's okay. We can get back to you. Now, those are excellent situations where stealing is exceptional. I just have a question. Okay, don't answer it now because I don't want this to be an exchange between just you and I. I want to hear other people's perspectives. So maybe people can weigh in on this one. He talked about saving a life. Maybe you steal medical equipment or medicine itself in order to save somebody's life. Now, I'm wondering about the movie John B., whose main actor was Denzel Washington. The storyline, by the way, Denzel always kills it in all his movies. Maybe it is his teeth. He just hypnotizes me, man. So Denzel, he killed it, of course, in that movie. He was fantastic. And the storyline is essentially Denzel has a son who is dying, and he kidnaps, or yeah, he holds a hospital ransom and requires them to save his son's life. So in that situation, okay, it might not be stealing per se, because he's giving them demands that maybe don't involve property. But imagine that he was to steal, uh, yeah, kidnapping. I don't know, kidnapping. He was to steal the doctors, or he was to steal the medical equipment that is needed to save his son's life. Because at the end of that movie, he comes off being the good guy. In fact, he's talked about on radio and people kind of celebrate him. So do we think that's a sustainable way of doing things, that when we have a sick loved one, because we want to save life, as still we've said, saving life is justifiable. So if we want to save life, should we steal from the medical profession, from hospitals and what have you, in order to save each and every one of our ailing relatives who are about to die? Do we think that's a sustainable way if society operated that way? So please comment on that. Other people, maybe if Tilwave has a rebuttal, he will mention it, but later. Next is Bill, then El Maestro, and then Deve. Yes, Bill, I hope your audio has improved.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me clearly now. Hello? Can you hear me clearly? Okay. So I think from stealing to lying, it's utilitarian thing in that it's, if the benefit outweighs the cost, then it is generally permissible. Although I feel like it's only when it's I think only it's more permissible when the person that you're stealing from is is responsible for helping you in that situation, but is failing to do so. So, for instance, let us say um, the hospital, like the case that was it Chilwell, whereby the hospital, you have a sick friend, and then the hospital refuses to offer you the service, maybe, and they have put a very high fees for their services. And so instead go and steal the drugs. Because I feel like that's their responsibility, and they're denying you the access to this key service, and it's and the benefit, which is saving the human life, is more than the cost that the hospital will incur by losing those drugs. Then it's okay. But if you go and steal it from another patient, then it's wrong. Even though you are you are saving a life. I'm done.
Now, Bill, you've introduced another spanner in the works. If you steal from a hospital, even if it is not directly from a certain patient, aren't you taking away the hospital's resources, which could be used on another patient who pays, and the payment is required by these hospitals for them to continue running? If we don't pay as consumers, they will quickly shut down. Don't you see there's some oversight there?
That's why I said it's when the people is. I feel like it's more okay when the people of one are the ones responsible for that issue, and two, they have overpriced the product. So, like if the drugs, let us say, ideally it should be like 100 shillings, and then they're charging 1,000 shillings, they're stealing from you. Like, you will have paid if you had the capacity to, and you had the capacity to, but they have made it difficult for you to achieve that. So stealing in that case will be okay because they have left with no choice to do that. But I feel like, again, there is a with the case of like um stealing, when we talk about stealing resources for other patients, I feel like um if the resource the drugs have not yet been allocated to someone, then then it should be operating on a first come first serve basis. So the hospital is denying you the service at that time in favor of someone else who will come back later, who might come later, is irresponsible. Because we're not sure, like, in the first place, if the other patients will come in the first place. But we have a situation at hand right now. It's like if that people are drowning, and then we say, like, let us not give them this spot because they might that won't be drowning for them again.
I will reserve my comments when. Thank you so much, Bill. Next is El Maestro. Karibu sana. It's been a minute. Hey, you made it into the meeting. Go ahead. El Maestro, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. You are all having a great day. Yeah, I know it's been a long time, but maybe because the Zoom description has taken the Zoom subscription has taken a long time to. Anyway, finally we are here. So we are on this topic of when is it okay to steal? When it's okay to steal, maybe if you think if you want to recover, maybe you want to recover your property by the isn't, you know, where you are, okay, I don't know if this qualifies to be stealing, but someone has stolen something that belongs to you, and you know where he or she has kept it. You know the authorities cannot help you, but you know where to find it, and you go and take it without the knowledge of this person. Does that qualify to be stealing? You are stealing back your property. I don't know. I don't know if that can qualify to be stealing, but maybe in such a situation, because the property belongs to you, but maybe the means that you've taken to recover your property qualifies as stealing, but mm, maybe the process qualifies to be called stealing, but it is your property. It is okay to take back your property. Things like that one, but and also maybe even if it's stealing from your parent or from your brother or sister, if you know that stealing this thing, you will go and make it and do something that is productive with this thing you're going to steal. Like for example, we know this. I know everyone here knows this famous artist Diamond Platinum. His first recording, he has stated this several times that his first ever recording he had to, because he had no means. So the only the thing he did is his man had some precious jewelry. I don't know, was it a ring? He went and stole it, but then he also again lied to his mom that maybe she might have dropped it in the washroom, and it it sank. But he stole his mom's gold, which was a gold ring, and he did it for his first ever recording of his song, because he knew he's talented. He knew he's talented. He knew if he goes and records a song, this song will hit the airwaves, and he'll make money out of it. So if you know that you are going to do something that will produce something that is even more, you can go and steal like Diamond did, and and now he's a famous musician all over Africa and the world at large. So situations like those can allow you to go and steal. But if you know that whatever you are going to do is far outweighs the negatives of stealing this precious thing from you, maybe your parent or your sibling, things like those. Yeah.
Hey. Controversy. El Maestro has caught it. Controversy with that one. If you believe in yourself, you can still. Okay, we can comment on that. We can comment on that. Do we agree with El Maestro? Because this one, it's really on the side tracks. I have never heard of such an exception to stealing. that is ethically justified, you guys comment on it. I will comment when it's my turn. But the next person in the line is Ndebe.
Thanks, Dorcas. El Maestro, I disagree absolutely, because if this thing that this musician was chasing had failed, would he tell his mother? Probably not. So no. That one was not justifiable stealing. If he was so sure, maybe he could have gone to pawn that ring, go put it there, get some money for it, and then when you go make it, because you are so sure you will make it, when you make it, then you go bring back the ring. But I think if this thing had flopped, he would never tell his mother. Now, that is why I think that it's not justifiable stealing. For me, I was going to pick a very basic stealing. Let us say that you are starving, or your child is starving. I'm going to tell you that I will steal, but I would have to be starving, not just hungry. Not just hungry because I've not eaten for 2 days. I mean that I'm starving. So I am going to steal. I'm going to steal to eat that time, but I'm not going to carry. I'm just going to eat it, save my life, and then go on my way. And that, I think, is justifiable stealing. And I remember the book, I think those who have read Les Miserables or watched the movie Les Miserables, there's also another there's also another book with justifiable stealing. It is Grapes of Wrath, where during the Depression in America, people trekking to California to save their lives were stealing oranges, because there were oranges, and so they were stealing oranges and eating. Of course, the farmers did not like that, but people were stealing oranges and they were eating it. The guy in Les Miserables stole bread to save his aunt, his aunt, I think his aunt, his sister, and her child. So, yes, that is, to me, that is justifiable stealing. Yet, you will find that the person that steals a piece of bread or a piece of orange gets more punished by the powers that be. I'm not talking about the society. By the powers that be, they punish the person that steals an orange more than the person that steals the funds for a whole hospital. Like, you will steal a whole hospital and get away with it, but somebody can't get away with an orange because when they are starving. So this is where I'm saying that we can justify. We can totally say, let not a person starve to death at our door. If they've stolen bread, it's not like they did not steal my whole groceries. They just stole a piece of bread or an orange to save their life. I think we can justify that. That's the stealing that I would justify. El Maestro's stealing, no. Leave your mother's ring alone, or go pawn it and then bring it back after you become successful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Debe, for that. She brought out the aspect of stealing bread in order to keep from starving. Now, I wanted to throw in another common situation, which is the Robin Hood situation. Do you guys think that it is okay to steal from the rich in order to give to the poor? Does the end justify the means? As you also give your own ethical exceptions. So the next person was Chilwif.
I think we first have to define what we mean when we say something is okay. Because if something is okay, doesn't it mean that it should be legalized? In the sense that, I don't know if it was Bill or El Maestro who said they would steal medicine from a hospital. Because my belief when it comes to morality is that the only way it works is if everyone or most people buy into the system. And what I mean by that is they agree that these are rules that we should follow. So to an extent, morality has to be socially acceptable. So the example that I had used of stealing like an EpiPen or an insulin injection or a first aid kit, I think majority of people would be okay with that. They would say, if that happened, they wouldn't press charges or anything like that. I mean, maybe one stingy person would, but majority of people wouldn't. But when Bill says that it's okay to steal medicine because someone is dying, because the end justifies the means, then by that logic, shouldn't the government legalize stealing from hospitals as long as you're dying? Because if it's not wrong, then why is it illegal? I think we have to answer that question. So that was my feedback, and that's also my question to Dorcas. When you say, should we steal from the rich to give to the poor? The question is, if it's okay, then should it be legalized? Because why not? So yeah, those are my comments.
Okay, I'll answer that question, Chilwe, when I give my contribution. But I see El Maestro's hand is up. I don't know if you wanted to respond to something someone said. Or was this the hand from the previous instance? Okay, he has unmuted and muted. Okay, let me give my contribution and we quickly move to Kim.
I said
Hello?
I forgot to lower my hand. I forgot to lower my hand that time. So it was from the previous.
So on my position, I think stealing is such a heinous act that it should be reserved for the absolute necessary, most immediate and intense threats. Not something that could be a danger to someone, but it is not immediate, or there are other alternatives for fulfilling that need, if other alternatives exist. And also the stealing should only occur for non-selfish reasons. So automatically the Diamond situation, where he stole from his mother because he had a dream that he would succeed in music, that flies out the window immediately, because he's doing it for selfish reasons and it's not sustainable. As I said, the problem with stealing is that it undermines trust, cooperation, and hence our survival as a species if it is rampant in nature. Property rights ought to be respected. So I wouldn't want to live with a son like that or a brother like that who is capable of stealing from me merely because they believe in their dream. Yeah, it's for selfish reasons. It's not even an immediate thing. It's not a direct threat.
How
Lives.
is it selfish when he wanted to make it in music to help his own mother too?
No,
How is it
he was not
selfish?
doing it to help his own mother. He was doing it for himself first. That was the PR answer. You know it. You know it.
Ah, okay.
Just spun it around. Yeah. So it ought not to be for selfish reasons. Then I also believe that when you steal, let's say, medicine, in a case that is non-threatening, or in a situation that isn't, that has alternatives, then I think that is an unsustainable way of building society. Imagine if all of us were thinking like that. We would all be raiding pharmacies and hospitals, and those hospitals and pharmacies wouldn't have any resources. So I think it is crucial to safeguard property rights, even for an institution that is designed to save lives or not. In fact, the only saving of life for me that would permit stealing, in fact, it looks like stealing, but somebody can define it differently, is when you are stealing a weapon from an assailant. Yeah. For that person's safety, for your safety, or for other people's safety that are being attacked. So you steal that thing from them. This one of bread, of stealing bread, I wonder if there are alternatives. I think there's an alternative to stealing the bread, which is begging for bread. I think there's an alternative there, and I would consider begging instead of stealing. I think it is, it's nobler, if I can put it that way. For Robin Hood, I would say that the end does not justify the means, because as somebody who considers herself to be a partial Kantian ethicist, that do things as though you are creating a universal moral law. So if we were to always be stealing from the rich to give to the poor, how would society look like? It would undermine industry and the economy. Yeah, that kind of approach is assuming that it is immoral to be rich. That's of course, some people can argue, the anti-capitalists can argue, but there are several people that have made it economically, financially, using legal. Chilwave, you're unmuted. Chilwave, I'm getting feedback from your end. Okay, thank you. There are people who have gotten wealthy using legal and even honorable means. So we cannot assume that it is a bad thing to be wealthy, so we should be stealing from the wealthy in order to give to the poor. I think such a society would quite easily crumble. That's my take on that. Now, let's quickly proceed to killing. Imagine we have 9 minutes left. 9 minutes left. So let's just go straight to the exceptions. The exceptions to killing. When do you think it is okay to kill? When do you think it is okay to kill? Maybe you can throw in why you think having a rule against killing is important. You can throw that in there, but also just give your exceptions, because we just have 10 minutes to the end of the meeting. Maybe Stano will allow us an extra 5 minutes. So we'll have 15 minutes total, but let's proceed. El Maestro, go ahead.
Of course, number one, when it's okay to kill, if when it is in a situation of self-defense, this guy, someone is threatening to you. You are okay. He's like you are defending yourself. You are, in order to preserve your life, you have to end this person's life. In order to preserve yours, you have to end his. So in a session of that, like self-defense, so that makes a killing okay, because if you do not end his life, that at that situation, he'll end yours. So end his. That's the first exception that comes to mind.
Great. Thank you, El Maestro. Self-defense is one exception he has mentioned. What are other exceptions we think are okay to killing?
Maybe even your loved ones too. When you want to prefer, of course, the life of your loved ones. But that is still self. It is okay. It is not self-defense, but your defense of your family. Yes. Maybe you are being attacked by robbers or by robbers or people who have just been sent specifically to this family to go and to come and end someone's life in this family. So, and in order to defend your family, you have to end theirs.
Okay, thank you, El Maestro, for those examples. Next is Bill Johannes.
Euthanasia. In case of euthanasia, like mass killing,
Has brought out this one. Hey, yes. A very complex issue, euthanasia. What do we think about that? What do we think about euthanasia or mercy killing? And
Yeah,
as
it is
El
okay.
Maestro, okay, and as El Maestro mentioned in the previous scenario, he talked about self-defense. Can we use this on a nationwide basis? Let's say Uganda came and attacked us. Uganda came to our territory and they attacked us. They sent their military and they just targeted us and they were shooting at us. Would we deem it okay to kill them, to kill Ugandans back for attacking us? Would that still be considered self-defense? If it is a war, now we are going to war. What is happening with Ukraine and Russia? Okay, I know it's it's a complicated situation, but is that self-defense? Does the individual self-defense translate to the national and regional or international self-defense? Yes, Bill?
yeah, I think it does, and I think it's like more justifiable than even the individual one. Called, I feel like you are being raided. This one person can kill like 10 people, but if you are being attacked at your house, it only kill you. So the cost is much higher for the invasion than for the individual attacks. So if these people have come and they've come and they've expressed hostility and are attacking many people, I think the only line I draw is now your reaction is to attack them all the time, like go to the kind of and start killing indiscriminately, then I feel that's wrong. But the people that have come and crossed their borders to come to your place, to your land, I feel like that's okay. The ones that have crossed their borders to come to kill your people. But going to their land to now kill as reactively or not, like as revenge, then you go and kill their people again indiscriminately, I feel like that's wrong.
So Bill supports self-defense at the national level, but then he is against the idea of going to their territory and attacking innocents in that land, people who are not combatants. Exceptions to killing, guys, we are winding up. Exceptions to killing. Can you think of other situations where killing would be permitted or should be permitted? Yes, Ndebe, go ahead.
Yeah, this one is a difficult one, but it is a kinyonga, in executions by the state. And the problem with this one is it is so summary. The justice or injustice is so summary. You can't go back and say, oops, this person was innocent. So while some criminals do earn the right to be executed, I will say, like somebody said, I would rather keep somebody indefinitely than have the possibility of having executed an honest person. So that one is it's a difficult one. It is the same as when law enforcement pumps 7 bullets on somebody that they are trying to arrest. Yeah, I think execution by authorities is always is troublesome. Even when it is warranted, it is troublesome because there's always some power in the hands of somebody that we probably can't trust. Yes, sorry. that's how I look at it.
All right. That's an interesting angle. In fact, I had overlooked that one, the death penalty. And I think, yeah, there might be situations where that is allowed. We had that discussion, the death penalty discussion, and yeah, some people were for it, others were against it, and I can definitely see the merits. For instance, when there's this individual who is a chronic, a serial killer, a mass murderer who is a danger to society in every way, shape, or form, I really would see a case for the death penalty. And, the investigations have been thorough. It has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that he is the culprit behind all of those killings. So, death penalty, but again, there are demerits to having the death penalty, which we also brought out. So it isn't black or white. Yes, Bill also mentioned euthanasia, and the reason why I personally endorse euthanasia is because it helps to minimize suffering. Again, in situations where there's no reprieve, there's no solution, there's no other alternative to improve the quality of life that this person is facing, the pain and suffering that they're undergoing, then I think euthanasia has to come into play. And of course, euthanasia is only euthanasia when the patient has consented to the termination of their life. They only ask you to assist to kill them. They would have killed themselves. It would have been suicide. But they ask you to do it because they can't do it. They're medically incapacitated. So euthanasia, I support it, given those conditions. It's not always unilateral. Another complicated or rather divisive, polarizing one is abortion, because some people say, "Oh, it's not killing." I think it is. I think a fetus is a life. Is a life. It is a living thing, the fetus. But whether it is a person yet. It is a potential person. A fetus is a potential person, but it is not a person yet. That is an issue that is up for debate. But I support women's right to choose. I support abortion, and I think in that situation, ending the fetus's life is okay. Those are the ones that I would add on top of course, self-defense and defensive war, not preemptive war. I see, Bill, your hand is still up. I don't know if it was from the previous instance. If it is not, then you can say something, but if not, let's hear from Deve.
Bill, are you going to say something, Bill? No. Okay. I will quickly put something out here, and I hope Chillwave can give us some time, can post the book by Paulo Coelho, The Devil and Miss Prim. In this book, the society, this is where we have always got to be wary of the masses. The society, which is a village, is offered a lot of gold by a stranger. A stranger comes and offers them a lot of gold, but they must, to earn the gold, they must pick one of them and kill them, throw them under the bus, literally, for that gold. That's the only way to earn it. But there are a lot of lies. Obviously, there will be a lot of lies that this stranger tells Miss Prim. Miss Prim is a teacher in this society, and she's the one the stranger uses to bring this message. And because there is a lot of gold, guess what? This village picked somebody, actually picked one of them to kill for that gold. So you will find that there will definitely be lies, and there will be greed in a lot of these killings. There will be greed. There will be a component of greed. So even if the society thinks that it is okay, which is that village, that village is that, because if a Martian came over and said, hey, I am going to destroy the world, the whole society, unless you give me a sacrifice. Hey, does that ring a bell? The sacrifice, human sacrifice, blood sacrifice to save the world? So somebody comes and says, hey, I need a sacrifice to save the whole world. Give me somebody, or else I will destroy the whole world. Guess what? Somebody, and if those Martians named somebody and said, we want El Maestro, guess what? Guess what? We would, El Maestro, you would be a goner. Because I would say, hey, they want El Maestro, not me. Let's just sacrifice it. It's not the first time that humans are sacrificing another human for their own. And we are used to human sacrifices, guys. Those who know about human sacrifice, hanging on the cross, that is a human sacrifice. We would give one of us without batting an eyelid. That's who we are, humans. sorry guys, to destroy I destroyed your innocence.
No. That thing about the cross is, it is not a sacrifice. Because how is it a sacrifice when you died and resurrected? It's not a sacrifice. That does not qualify. You should have given another analogy, not that one.
I don't know, El Maestro. They are Martians. You might be resurrected. I don't know.
Then that's not a sacrifice. If they take the life of that person and he has the ability to resurrect, and after 3 days he resurrects, who is the sacrifice? There is no sacrifice.
I agree.
Okay. Yes. Before we get lost in translation, it was just an example she was giving, but I think we understand the point she was making, which is some foreigners from another planet coming and requiring us to make a sacrifice. Human beings we are selfish creatures. We are selfish creatures. We will definitely throw somebody under the bus. Yeah, I think so. I think in order to save ourselves, we will put somebody on the line. So yeah,
By the
that's a
way,
very interesting.
I came in late when you are talking about when it's okay to lie. Did you talk about how there are many others who are lying to their parents that are still Christians, like me here? Mm. Did
No,
you talk
we
about?
just we didn't give that particular example. I just talked about apostasy. In apostasy law countries, Muslim countries, where you could die
Okay.
for being atheist, lying is a great idea. But I had not looked at it from the Kenyan angle. But yeah, I hear you. Many of us are closeted.
So what do you think? Do you agree with me that I should continue lying to them, or I should just tell them the truth?
What
Uh,
people think, guys, let's
yeah.
advise them. Members, let's advise them. Should he continue lying?
But how is your atheism getting in the way when they don't know? They don't know, but you're still practicing. They are not impeding your practice. They are not knowing doesn't cause any problems to you.
Yes, see, that's the idea. That's why he's lying. But if they knew, maybe. Do you think
Yeah, if
El
they knew,
Maestro?
the situation will be very different if they knew. Okay, I'm not sure. But I doubt if the situation will be the same.
Well, maybe they don't know. They are happy. That's okay. Yeah, for me, I think my parents were old. I think they just knew that I didn't go to church anymore, but they did not know the depth of my not going to church. So maybe your parents also know. If you don't go to church, they probably know a few things.
So this one, I think El Maestro, for me, it falls under the issue of lying in order to minimize the suffering of emotionally fragile people. And we debated about it. Some people thought you should lie in order to protect sensitive people or people who are egotistic. I was of the opinion that we shouldn't lie or tap dance around ego, that we should endeavor to build our loved ones' spines. Yeah. Who are they to dictate how we live our lives? But I don't want you to face significant barriers in your life at this point if you are dependent on them. As we know, um, Kenyans are a Christian nation, and many of them are very bigoted. They discriminate against atheists. So if you're depending on your parents for sustenance, it could jeopardize that. You telling them the truth would jeopardize that. And we don't want you to deal with that consequence. But in the spirit of being sustainable, like I said, when we were having that subtopic of lying, is that it has a ripple effect. So maybe you might want to consider financial independence so that you can be free enough to tell the truth. But at this point, you are crippled by your dependence on them. So let's address that aspect so that you can be yourself. You don't have to lie. Yeah, that's the only situation. But by and large, I support coming out. Why should these people be free to express their religious ideas while we are not? They impose their ideas on us. So the only exception is if you're financially dependent on them, because they might withdraw it, you will be hurt by it. So strive to become financially dependent so you can be truthful. Yeah, so I think that is it, guys. We are really out of time. I believe the cushion is 10:15. So yeah, we are out of time. If there's somebody with a final burning remark, unless there's somebody there who'd like to say a final remark.
Just one word to El Maestro and the other guys that want to walk out on religion against very sensitive parents. Also remember, you would like to get your inheritance from your parents. So don't be in a hurry to let them know. Even when you are independent, if you want your inheritance, you might have to hang in there a little bit longer.
Oh, this pains me to know, and it really shows how shackled we are, how controlled and dominated we are by religious people. It is the epitome of privilege. Anyway, thank you all for your contributions. Thank you, Chilwave. He's not here at the moment, but he has made very profound contributions, given us some really good feedback. Thank you so much, Ndeve. You invited somebody as well. Thank you, Bill, for joining us. Thank you, El Maestro, for coming in, albeit halfway through the discussion. We still appreciate the contribution you made. I think I had something small from ex-Pastor Stano as well. So guys, let's meet again next Friday. We are back. We are back on Zoom. Thank you to all that contributed to our fundraiser for this Zoom renewal. It was a team effort in all senses of the word. Take care, guys, and I wish you a good night, a good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world.
Good morning, everybody. Good evening to us. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.